We're going to get started here. How you doing, everybody? I hope you are, first off, I hope you're safe. You and your families are safe and healthy through this crazy time. Myself, my company, my teams, our heart goes out to all the small businesses all across the country that have been going through a lot of challenging times and a lot of uncertainty. It's been crazy for all of us. We've all had to make some major changes and decisions in our businesses. All of our businesses have been affected. And every business owner that I speak to, they're affected in one way or another. So we completely understand it. We're here to support and serve small business owners all across the country. It's what we've always done prior to this since 2007. And we're kicking that into high gear right now to try and support as many businesses across the country as we can. So my name's Joe Camberado. I'm the president and co-founder of National Business Capital and Services. Today we're going to cover as much as we can about the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm a member of the Forbes Finance Council. I'm also in Young Presidents Organization, YPO Long Island. For any of my fellow YPOers on the call today, how you doing? I hope you and your families are well. We also might have some local members of the EO chapter. Shout out to you guys, and I hope you're doing well too. And to every other business owner on the call, thank you for joining. So if you don't know about, just a quick background about National Business Capital and Services, who we are. We were founded back in 2007. We've helped since then secure over $1 billion in financing for small business owners all across the country. And we've done that via streamlining processes, digitalizing applications, and moving fast and quickly. We've built a platform that has just about 100 lenders on it now. And we're connected to all those lenders. And in normal times, when you'd apply, we'd get you connected with the right lender in minutes and hours and get you funding in hours and if not days. So that's what we do, and that's what we do best. So we've decided to leverage those systems and our platform. We work with a number of different financing programs, including SBA prior to this. So we're leveraging those systems and our platform to help support small businesses through this and obtain the PPP funding. We've helped thousands of clients over the years. On top of the funding that we provide, we also do a number of business services. And last year in 2019, we were a top workplace, #1 top workplace on Long Island for small businesses. Before I get started, I just wanted to stop for a second and give a big shout out to my whole team. All of our businesses, everyone, we've all been working remote now for 3 weeks. Today will mark 3 weeks working remote, and we've had to make some changes. We've had to make some cuts, as we all have in our businesses. So my hearts go out to all of our employees. Thank you guys through this. They've been working around the clock. We've been making it happen to gather this information. We've been speaking to all of our SBA lending partners, gathering that information, taking the applications that have changed multiple times, getting into our system to digitalize it, to make it available via DocuSign. But I just wanted to thank my team for really working their butts off for you guys, small business owners, to make this happen. So thank you guys. So prior to all this, as I mentioned, National Business Capital is a provider of business lines of credit, SBA loans, small business loans, and we have our own trademarked product, the Hybrids SBA loan, where you can apply for an SBA and get working capital throughout the process. On top of that, we help save businesses all across the country thousands of dollars on a number of those services you see listed, and many more, from credit card processing to bookkeeping to payroll to marketing services. So we've been also right now helping small business owners reduce a lot of those expenses. That's something that you can, when you call and speak with us after we help secure this Paycheck protection funding, if you want, we can look at those services for you as a courtesy and see if we can maybe reduce some of those services for you as well. In normal times, we process thousands of applications a month. So we are set up to handle this, but you know, a lot of things are changing very rapidly, and we're trying to keep up with those changes just like you are. We are getting them right from the sources, and we're moving as quickly as possible. But no matter who you are in this, as a lender or a finance company like us, it's going to be, you know, we're all going to deal with some longer than expected wait time. So I just want to make that clear. but we're going to do everything we can to streamline this and make it as quick as possible. So just a quick overview of the Paychecks Protection Program. $350 billion was made available for small businesses in this program. The deadline to apply is going to be June 30th, but it's going to be in a first come, first served basis. So that's something that you need to know. The funding will go quick and they will run out of funding. So you don't want to wait to get your application in. There's some questions around loan forgiveness and a few things which I'll address at the end of this, so stay tuned. And basically every business, pretty much all businesses under 500 employees qualify for this, and including nonprofits, sole props, and independent contractors. One thing that you should know, if you are a business that does have multiple locations and you have more than 500 employees, certain businesses and industries can apply from this if you have under 500 employees in multiple locations, if that total number exceeds the 500. But for most off, it's for everyone under 500 employees. Another thing to be clear on, no matter where you apply or obtain this funding, the terms are going to be the same for everyone. So it's a 2-year term, it's a 1% interest rate, no matter where you apply. The only difference is that where you apply is going to be very unique right now, because a lot of banks are not set up to handle the loan volume, and certain banks are only going to work with their existing customers. I've heard rumors that certain banks are only going to help their customers that have out existing financing, whether it's credit lines or commercial mortgages or et cetera. So, you know, a lot of the big brand name banks are going to focus on their pre-existing clients prior to probably February 15th. And I believe they're going to focus on a lot of their clients that have existing balances. So that can make it really unique and really interesting. Another thing that I want to make clear is that we will not be charging any fees, and no one can charge any fees for this, period. So if anyone is looking to charge you a fee to do this, they're not doing it the right way. They're not allowed to charge you fees, and those are the rules and guidelines that the SBA has set. So if anyone is looking to do that, I would avoid working with that person, because they're not doing this legitimately. And you cannot apply for more than one PPP loan. Applying for this in multiple places will not help you. It'll probably hurt you, because if you get your application in somewhere and they're having a tough time managing through the process, usually in normal times with SBA, once that application is entered into their system on the back end, you'd have to, in order to work with another SBA lender, you have to have them release that application. So that can really confuse things. So you don't want to go apply around the world with this. It's not going to help you. It'll actually probably help or hurt you. So the loan is capped at $10 million. The loan minimum, I've heard some rumors that it's going to be $25,000. They could up that amount, but that's not clear yet. I just want to throw that out there. Again, these things are changing by the minute. The interest rate as of right now, as we're doing this video, is 1% over 2 years. There's no payments for the first 6 months. Interest will accrue during that time. There is no personal guarantee or no collateral that's required. There's also no prepayment penalties. There's also no FICO or cash flow requirements. And just so you know, if you're just joining, I still see a bunch of people joining this. We have thousands of people on this webinar and that have signed up for it. I'm going to give you everything that you need to know. I'm going to answer your questions at the end of this, and then I'm going to show you and tell you exactly where you can apply on our website, and we're going to help you obtain the process, and I'm going to talk about that at the end, so stay tuned. So how to calculate your loan amount. This has been a big question, and you know, a lot of people have been reaching out to me, and I apologize if I haven't gotten back to your question or answer, and that's why I was putting this webinar together, to speak to a number of people in one place. We've been working around the clock to gather all these facts, so please bear with me if I have not gotten back to you personally. So basically, you're going to take your average monthly payroll. Right now, it looks like the SBA and the lenders are going to be looking for your average payroll from all of 2019. You can include in that obviously your salary, commissions, tips. What you can also include in that is anything that you contribute towards medical or 401k. So, and vacation pay or anything like that. So if you have paid vacation, leave time, and if you're contributing anything towards medical for your employees, you can include that in your calculations. So if your average payroll And one other thing to make clear is it's capped at $100,000 per employee. So if you have any employees that are making 105,000, 110, 150, or 200,000, it's capped at $100,000. So you would just divide that 100,000 by 12 months. It's $8,333. So if you know any of your employees that are over 100,000, you're just going to use $8,333. Anyone that's below that amount, you can add in so if they're doing, let's just say $48,000 a year, and on top of that, you contribute money towards medical. If that number totals up to 50,000, you would divide 50 by 12, and that's the number that you would plug in to your monthly payroll number. So if you have an average payroll, we're just using even numbers here. If you have an average monthly payroll for 2019 of $100,000, you're going to multiply that by 2.5, which would equal 250,000. They've also put some language out there that it should be anywhere from 2 to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. So it's a rough estimate of what you would qualify for. There's been a lot of questions about should I be using my first quarter, if I've had some hiring in the first quarter. That's not clear yet. If you've done a ton of hiring, you can probably use those first quarter payroll figures and tally it up. And that's not clear. And I think they're going to be putting out something around that. So I'm going to get to those documents that you need. But for right now, I would get both sets of those documents, and I'll explain which documents you're going to need in a second. If you're sole proprietor or independent contractor, it looks like they're going to be using your net income from a profit and loss statement. You're going to have to prove that out. If you're paying yourself on some sort of a 1099, then you can use that 1099. Again, that's capped at $100,000 for each employee. So what's not clear right now, as I move along here, there was some language that came out last night in this new bill, this new interim bill, and it's very contradicting whether or not you're going to be able to use your 1099 contractors in your calculation. So that's not clear yet. We're waiting on getting that information. What I would say for you right now is gather your payroll statements and information, and also your 1099 information, and you can look at those numbers separately for right now. Earlier yesterday, you were able to use the 1099 contractors, and that language is not clear. So we're trying to figure it out. That really literally changed this morning when I was on the phone with one of my SBA lending partners. So we're trying to figure that out, but it's not 100% clear yet. So we will absolutely let you know and update you on that. So basically, loan forgiveness is going to be items that can count towards loan forgiveness are going to be your payroll costs, your mortgage interest, not your mortgage payment, your rent, and your utility costs, your phone, your internet, water, electric, gas, and any other utilities that you have. You're going to be able to potentially get some of that or most of that or all of that forgiven. So it looks like you'll be able to get all of your payroll forgiven. There's a few stipulations around that. I'll talk about that in a second. But your mortgage interest, rent, and utility costs, it looks like you'll get 25% of that credited for loan forgiveness. And that number is a pretty good estimate right now, but they're still finalizing some of those terms. So your payroll costs, and what you can get forgiven there is if you've laid some people off, you have till June 30th to bring those people back on and to count them into the figures, the 8 weeks. So once you get funded this money, the 8 weeks after that will count towards loan forgiveness. So your payroll, the mortgage interest, the rent, and the utilities. If you've laid some people off, but you haven't brought them back on yet, there's going to be a formula that they're going to use where you're not going to get those full payroll counting towards forgiveness. So it's a little unclear, and we're working through that. And I have some few things, and there's been some questions in the chat that I'm going to answer around loan forgiveness. A lot of people have brought up, a question, I've seen it in the chat, is, what if we've laid some people off, we're not bringing them back, we apply for the loan, we get the loan, but now the 8 weeks going forward, we're not really back to business, and we're not going to get credit, on those employees for loan forgiveness. It's a really great question. So what I'm trying to find out for you and for everybody and myself is, if we apply for the loan and get approved, can we secure the money and know that it's approved for us, and then wait and push that closing date out? So once we actually get funded, can we get the next 8 weeks credited once we start bringing people back? So there's a few things that I want to point out here, and this is a business decision that you're going to have to make, and we're all going to have to make together. Is the loan forgiveness, I think, is great. I don't know how much I would get caught and wrapped up in this and freak out over the calculations. At the end of the day, this is 2-year money at 1%, and we're all going to need money to get back to business, and we're all going to need working capital. And we all know that we're probably never going to get our hands on 1% money over 2 years again for our businesses. Even if you get a normal SBA in normal times, as of a few weeks ago, the rates are prime plus 2.75%. So your rates are around 6 to 6.75% anyways on SBA financing. And then small business loans and other products that are available, the rates just start to go up from there based on risk, your industry, time and business, credit, and so on. So, it is going to be a business decision. The money is going to go. So I think the risk of waiting to apply and then missing out on the money because you're worried about loan forgiveness, if you get no money, then there's nothing to forgive. So I think secure that money, get it in your bank account. I think that's what's most important. I hope you find that helpful and that makes sense for you. So just to be clear, with the loan forgiveness, not everything will be forgiven. Whatever is forgiven and will count towards it will be forgiven, and then the rest you'll be responsible for. Your payments will be deferred out for 6 months. Interest will accrue during that time, and then you'll have it's a 2-year term. So it looks like after the 6 months, you'll have that 18 months to repay it at 1%. There's no prepayment penalties. You can pay it off at any time. So what you need to apply. So there's a new application. As 2 days ago, there was an application. Last night, that application changed. My team have been working, like I said, around the clock and are rock stars. And my team grabbed that application last night and started putting it into our system. We have that application in our system, a DocuSign version, so you don't have to print it out, fill it out, scan it back in. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. So you're going to need to complete that application. You can do that on our website, right at the email address or the website address below at national.biz, BIZ/PPP for the PPP loan. So www.national.biz/PPP. So you need to, you're going to have to complete that application. It's a pretty simple and basic application. You're going to need your payroll processing records from 2019. So go to your payroll company. You're going to want to get your annual payroll report, your 940s for 2019. I would also get your 941s from 2019 just to play it safe. So get those quarterly reports as well too. If you use a PEO company, you're not going to be able to get 940 forms, but the PEO companies are working with this. We use a PEO. Just ask them for a payroll summary report for 2019 and they'll get that to you. Right now, they're not asking for the Q1 payroll reporting or 941s, but they most likely will as time moves on. Most payroll companies don't have those available for a month after filing. We just ended the month, the first quarter a few days ago. So if your payroll company happens to have it available, then I would say get it. If they don't have it available, don't worry, you don't need it at this time. But if you're there and getting it, get it. So the 1099 forms, it looks like they're not going to be accepting them, but I would gather them from all of 2019 in case they make a decision that you can use them, so you have them. You can feel free to upload them to us if you'd like, so we can have them on file. If you're a sole proprietorship, then you need to prove that your income and expenses. And they will be looking to verify those via your bank statements and other financial statements. So gather your bank statements for 12 months and your income and expense report like a P&L. You're also going to need a driver's license and a voided check. You may need to do some calculations and prove how you got to this. We have a calculator that's been put together because you've signed up for this webinar, or if you're a customer of ours, you're going to get this calculator. I'll send it out to you. And just so you know, when we're done with this webinar, you're going to receive a recording of this. We're going to send out where you can apply to this with a link. And then we're also going to send it a link to our calculator that we have available for everybody here. So some ending topics and just some pointers here that I think are really important. One, you want to keep track of all your statements and your spending after this. So your payroll statements, your utility bills, your lease checks, your mortgage interest statements, things like that, because you're going to have to go back to the lender and submit those documents for loan forgiveness. You will need them, so just make sure that you keep track of them after you get this funding. Consider a separate bank account to keep track of your funds, meaning when you get this funding, consider opening up a separate bank account and parking the money in there, just to keep track of the funds and where you're spending it, how you're using it, so it doesn't get intermingled in with the rest of your operation. So the value that we provide versus big banks. A lot of the big banks right now are saying they're only going to work with their existing customers. A lot of them are saying that they're only going to work with their existing customers that have a commercial mortgage or a credit line or some sort of or financing that's outstanding. So if you don't have financing outstanding, I think you're going to be at the end of a very long line. On top of that, big banks are not really set up to process. So my company National, we're set up to process. We've built a platform since 2007, as I mentioned earlier on this call. We have over 100 lenders on that platform, and some of those lenders are SBA lenders. And those SBA lenders are non-bank SBA lenders. The only difference is that they're not a bank, but they specifically do SBA lending, and they're approved to do SBA lending. So those SBA lenders are a little bit more tech savvy and process driven, where they can handle the volume. So we work with those lenders already, and we're streamlined with those lenders and directly connected with those lenders. So we're going to be able to gather all your information, package it up, and get it right into underwriting very quickly. Again, we expect them to be extremely busy with this. We've already received hundreds of applications and hundreds of business owners that are interested in this. So please bear with us through this time. My team is working really hard to make it happen and streamline this. No matter where you go right now, there's going to be a wait, and it's going to be a little chaotic. We're being very clear and transparent with that to all of our customers and business owners. So please, please bear with us. We're working through this. The good thing is, in normal times, we process and handle thousands and thousands of applications on a monthly basis. Things are changing hourly and literally, daily and hourly, which is crazy. But as we get that information, again, we're connected directly with lenders. So be careful where you get your information right now. A lot of that information that's out there is inaccurate, and it's not the right information. So just be careful where you're getting your information. As we get that information, because you signed up on this webinar, we're going to send up the new up-to-date information. I should have some more information from our SBA partners at the end of the day today. And any new facts that come out, I'm going to email out to everybody on this call, along with everything else that I mentioned. Again, you're going to receive an email with a link to apply, with the recording of this webinar and a calculator that we put together. And one thing just before I get to Q&A is, listen, we're all in this together. We're all going through a tough time. We're all dealing with challenges in our business. I completely understand that. We empathize that. We have respect for that. I'm a business owner, and my team, we all work with business owners, so we truly respect our business owners. And if you look at our reviews on Trustpilot, we have over 500 reviews at a 4.9 rating out of 5 stars. And all those reviews just show the respect and the service that we deliver to all of our business owners across the country, always. So please just bear with us. We're going to do our best our can to deliver this and help you obtain this funding, but we know it's going to be very busy. We're all in this together. Stay positive and continue to be a leader through this time. You can get started after the webinar. You can go to national.biz/PPP to get that application started. As of right now, all banks are not processing the application. So I want to be clear with that. What we are doing is we're gathering all the information. You can fill out the application and we're putting you into queue. So you'll go into line, and basically once the banks square out the back and forth that they're doing right now with the SBA, once that's all squared away, they are going to fund this. The $350 million has been approved and the law has been passed. So they're going to fund this. It's just a matter of the SBA and the banks and everyone working together and the SBA lenders to just understand all the guidelines here. This thing has been moving very quickly. It's actually amazing how far along we've gotten in a short period of time, even though it feels like an eternity waiting for this. But once they sort that out, there's a few guidelines that the banks need to understand to make sure that they're making the right underwriting decision and are not going to be held accountable. So they just want to confirm that. Once that's confirmed, they're going to start to process those applications. So we're putting all of those applications in a queue right now, and those applications are going to be worked the order they've received. And remember, the funding is first come, first serve. So we're going to move to Q&A here. I'm just going to go read through the Q&A, so bear with me, and I'll go through some of the questions here. There was a question, great question from Susan. Susan, can rent and utilities be included with payroll? No, they cannot. The formula is just based on payroll to get to your loan amount number. So you cannot include your rent and utilities, but a portion of your rent and utilities can be forgiven from the loan the 8 weeks after you get funded. Another question, Mike, are you processing loans today? We are collecting the information. You can start the application process. You're going to do that right at national.biz/PPP. When you fill out that application, you're going to go in queue, and we're going to get you into queue with our lending partners, and then they're going to work those applications in the order they're received. So your application won't get submitted to the SBA, but it'll go in queue. And our lenders have already gotten thousands of applications, so you want to get a jump on this and get this done today. There's absolutely no reason to wait. If anything changes, if there's an update to the application, we have all your information in our system. We'll just email you out an updated DocuSign, and then you just re-sign that. We're going to make it really simple so you don't have to physically fill out another physical application. So if you get all that information in now, we'll have it. And if it gets updated, we'll shoot you out an email. We'll get whatever it needs updated, whether it's statements, documents, and you won't have to fill out another application. So what's the difference between you and the bank that I do business through? From Sunny, great question. So the difference is a lot of the big banks, if you don't have a real good prior relationship, if you're working with a really good business bank and you've got a great business banking relationship and you have a big credit facility out with your bank, then you can go work with your bank. If you've got a solid relationship and you feel confident in working with your bank, then the rates and terms are the same. What I've heard from a lot of customers, what I've heard from a lot of my friends at banks, is that a lot of the banks are only working with customers that have pre-existing credit facilities out. So commercial mortgages, credit lines, and things like that. So you know, it's different at every bank. It's just a matter of how confident you feel working with your bank. Some of the big banks are just not set up to handle this process. And the difference is a lot of times when you work with the big banks, you're going to deal with a customer service agent that doesn't really know what they're talking about. We're getting this information directly from our lending partners direct, and we're doing daily meets with everyone on our team, including our business financing advisors, that you'll be able to speak to that can really help answer these questions as accurately as possible. I was on the phone with a very well-known brand bank and an accountant the other day, and I was actually giving the person on the phone at the bank the actual up-to-date information because they were wrong because it changed from 2 days ago. So that's the difference of working with us versus a bank, and that's always the difference of working with us versus a bank, is we have some really talented and smart people that work at my company that also not only understand lender guidelines always, they also understand business and understand how to communicate and talk with business owners, you. Do we work with CPAs? Yes, we do work with CPAs, and we're happy to help. Please feel free to reach out to us. You can go to national.biz/partners, and you can get connected with someone of our partner team, and we can help potentially work with your clients. Let me just get to some more questions here, guys. Great questions. Thank you. There was a question around bankruptcy, and that's actually a good question. I think I know for normal SBA, there is a number of years that you have to be out of bankruptcy. So I'm going to need to confirm that, and I'll fire that out with my email later today and just confirm that with you. I'm not actually clear on that question just now, but we'll get back to you on that. There's a questions around, can you use your W-2 and W-3 records as proof of payroll? If you don't have payroll statements, you can use other supporting documentation, and that's the language right now. So you should be able to use that W-2 and W-3 records if you don't have payroll statements. But the best is get those payroll statements and those quarterly and annual filings, Form 940 and 941 for 2019. And sorry, guys, there was over 200 questions, so I'm just trying to get to as many of them as possible. What if all we have is bank statements? So if you only have bank statements and don't do payroll, the supporting documentation could be bank statements, and I'm not sure what else they're going to want to go along with that. And as I get that information, we will update you. Someone asked, what about the $10,000 grant after the app was filled out from the SBA? So that app that you filled out was most likely the EIDL app or the disaster loan app for that grant. So I'm pretty sure that you can still get that grant, and one doesn't have anything to do with the other. There's been nothing about that that's saying that you can't, and I've heard that you can. So you should be all good there. So someone asked 1099 income on a single member LLC. So if it's a single member LLC, you should be able to use that 1099 income if that's how you're actually paying yourself. And you're gonna have to probably prove that and sign off on that. So that's probably gonna be the only case when they're gonna allow you to use 1099s. And I think that's where the back and forth is about what and where and when you can use 1099s. I should have that information at the end of the day. And when I send an email to everybody, if I don't get it till Monday, I'll send it out then. But we're waiting on that information to get clear right now on those 1099s. So it's probably only going to be for those single member where you pay yourself a 1099, or it's clear that you're paying specific employees 1099s. That's the information that we're waiting on. It's a great question. Someone asked, what's the cost of processing this application through your company? There is no cost. We're working with our SBA lending partners. We're here to leverage what we've built, our technology, our streamlined process to serve you and your business. We are not allowed to charge fees, nor is anybody else. If anyone's looking to charge you a fee, I would not work with them. They're not allowed to. So it means they're not doing things the right way. Another question, sole prop pays himself as a draw, not payroll. Is this including the payroll combined with W-2 employee? You should be able to use that if you're a sole prop. It looks like if you're a sole prop that you can use what you pay yourself, and we'll just need the supporting documentation around that. No, a question from Keith. Can anticipated 401k contributions for 2020 be included in the formula? No, it cannot. Right now in the formula, to get to your average monthly payroll expense, to calculate the 2.5 times to get to your loan amount, you can, right now they're only taking what you spent in 2019. As we move along with some time here, they may incorporate the first quarter, but as of right now, they're not. But do yourself a favor, get together all of that documentation and info, but nothing is anticipated or expected or future of what you're gonna pay. Another great question from Carol. Can you do the application, then send the payroll summary statements? Yes. You can fill it and complete the application on our website, and you can get started immediately and then send us in those payroll statements. That's not an issue at all. Great question. Someone asked, hey, what if a company's been turned down due to bad credit? This is not based on personal credit. So it's not based on credit. Even if you've been turned down for an SBA loan in the past for personal credit, this is not based on personal credit, so you can apply from this. This is also not based on your financial statements or anything like that. So it's purely based on your payroll, so you can apply. A question is, can you process the small business disaster loan as well? As of right now, I'm being told, yes, you can process both at the same time, and there's nothing saying that you can't. But the monies from both, it looks like you can only use the monies for different things. So if you're getting the disaster relief for like your vendors or working capital, loss of business, the payroll program is used for payroll, rent, and utilities. So what I'm told is that it needs to be for two different things that you're using the money for. So if you went on the SBA site yesterday, you filled in a simple form, they gave you an application number. From what I'm being told, you cannot complete this application on the SBA site. You might have completed a different application, but I don't know if it's specifically the PPP loan. The PPP loan, the Paychecks protection plan, needs to be filled out with a lender. So if you're doing it on the site, I don't know if that was actually processed, and you might have filled out for a different program. So I would go back and check that. How many SBA banks do we work with? We work with about half a dozen SBA banks, and we're going to be heavily working with two of our non-bank SBA lending partners that we know move very quickly. You can handle volume. Great question. I have two companies, two EINs. If you combine them we have over the 500 employees. How should we be counting our employees? So if they're two separate EINs, it looks like it's not more than 500 employees per location or per business. You should apply for both of those together at the same time, because it looks like you're only going to be able to take out one loan. So you're going to want to combine all those together. So I'm just reading, guys, just getting to the next question. We're trying to get to as many of these for you guys as possible. If your business is a partnership, can you apply? Yes. There's a question around if you're an LLC treated as an S Corp and you've been writing checks to yourself since you started in 819, you would probably only be able to use what you've, it's a great question. You'll probably only be able to use what you paid yourself. Even though it's only for those from August 19th on, you'll be able to use that amount. There is some language around seasonality, and being that if you only got started, I guess it depends on when your business start date was. If your business start date was prior to 2019, then whatever amount you wrote yourself, you're gonna have to divide that up. That total amount that you wrote yourself, divide it up by 12 months, and then I would use that average. That should be accurate. How do I send clients your way? Great question, Margaret. You can go to national.biz/partners and get connected with someone on my partners team so we can help and work with you. We work with partners all across the country. There's a question, if your ownership is owned by a foreign company, would you qualify? That's a pretty good technical question. I'll find out that information. I'll shoot that out in the email as well too. I'm not clear if you're a U.S.-based citizen and the company here is a U.S. entity. You should be able to qualify. I'm not sure how they're going to treat that ownership and who they're going to want additionally on the application. So we're going to have to get back to you on that one. That's a great question. Again, these things are happening. If this was any other time and you asked me a question about any of other financing products like a normal 7A SBA loan, a credit line, or equipment financing, small business loans, I'd be able to answer those questions with full confidence. But that's a very unique question. I'm not sure how they're going to treat that right now with this program. Really great question. Are lease payments for equipment included in possible forgiveness? It doesn't look like your lease payments can be forgiven. It looks like just your rent and your mortgage interest. So you cannot use those equipment leasing payments. I didn't see anything like that you can use. A great question. So someone asked, who are the lenders if not a bank? There's about 14 non-bank preferred SBA lenders across the country, and we work with a number of them that are on our platform. Christopher likes my sign in the background. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. We are working hard and hustling. Someone asked if you've applied with us in the past, can we use that information? So if you've applied with us in the past, we'll have that information on file. So we'll easily be able to submit you out an application probably pre-filled. If you want to just call and speak with someone on our team, you can just call into us and we'll do everything over the phone and then send you out an updated application. You can sign it right in your email. On top of that, we are still getting certain clients across the finish line with their other funding products. So, this week we funded a $250,000 small business loan, term loan. We did a $100,000 credit line. Our approval rates have gone down dramatically because all lenders have tightened up, but we are still getting clients across the finish line with other funding. So we can get your PPP loan application started, and we can talk to you about some of the other products that you may qualify for right now while you wait. And you can do both. And we'll also look at your business services to see where we can save you money in a number of your different business expenses. We do that for all of our customers normally, and especially now we're doing a ton of that. Last week we saved someone $2,000 a month in the credit card processing fees, $24,000 a year. So we're really looking to save people as much money right now and reduce their expenses, as we've all had to look over expenses. And if you haven't gotten to your expenses yet, you need to start reducing those right now and conserve as much capital as you can. All right, so let's go to another question here. Sorry, I'm just reading questions, guys, as we go through. If you've done business with us in the past, this will be a new transaction, a new loan. It'll be processed and collected separately. Someone asked if I said there was a minimum. There's not a minimum just yet, but there could. I've heard rumors that there could be a minimum of $25,000 that you would need to qualify for, which would mean that you'd have to do a minimum of $10,000 a month in payroll. So I just want to make that clear. Gil, is a client of yours. I go through you and not my bank, Chase. You can go through us. We can help you process this. I've heard with some of the bigger banks that the process is not the easiest and a little bit of a nightmare. They're not clear on all the things that are needed. To clarify, someone asked, payroll, is it the gross amount? Yes, it's the gross dollar, not the net amount. And you can include tips, bonuses, commissions, and you also can include any of your contributions towards medical, sick leave, vacation time, and any 401k contributions for last year. But you have to cap that at 100,000. So once you go past 100,000, you can only use a max of $100,000. All right, I'm just reading through. Someone asked, I have a business checking account with Bank of America, but no loans or credit lines through them. You know, I've heard that a number of those brand name banks, I'm not sure if they're going to work with you or not. I've heard that they're not. That's what I've heard from a number of different sources that are pretty reliable. If you reach out, I'm sure they'll give you that information, but I've heard that a lot of the big banks are going to be working with people that have balances or credit lines out already. So there's a question around independent contractors. I'm a salon owner. I don't have payroll, but I pay booth, you know, but have booth renters, and you probably pay those people on 1099. They're trying to get the language clear right now on 1099. So it looks like if you're paying people specifically that are employees of yours 1099, but they don't have a set schedule and salaries, you might be able to use that 1099. That's what we're trying to get clear on literally right now. That changed from last night to this morning. So someone asked me, if you apply through us, can we help them get the money through their bank? No, we're only working with our preferred SBA lenders, which are all non-bank lenders because they work fast and they're set up to handle volume. We are not working through any of the big brand name banks because we're all about speed and process. Once an application is approved, someone asked me, how long do you anticipate to receive the funding? Great question. Supposedly, once the application is approved, you should be getting funding in 2 to 3 days. That's what I've been told from our lending partners, or SBA lending partners. There'll be no fees for doing this through us. That question's come up multiple times. Sorry, I'm just reading here, guys. Please bear with me. Any owners that are more than are 20% in a business, you'll need those driver's license, their email address, and you're going to need to enter that information on the application. Someone asked, this is a 2-year loan, but only have 8 weeks that can get forgiven. And then what if we don't need the money anymore? So there's no prepayment penalties. It's actually a great question. Let's just say you get $100,000. It's 1% interest rate. The payments are deferred for the first 6 months. At the end of those 6 months, if you wind up not needing the money, you'll accrue interest, but it's only 1%. It's really not much at all. So you can pay that money back, and you only pay interest you know, for whatever time that money was outstanding, and that's only at 1%, which is not a great deal of money. So if you wind up not using the money, you can pay it back. There's no prepayment penalties. It's actually a great question. Yes, there will be a recording that we will send out for this whole webinar when we're done here. How do you file for the $10,000 loan advance? I will get that information and that link in an email out to you guys and send it out. There's a $10,000 grant that's out there. I'll get that in an email with some instructions. If you don't use a payroll company, then you're going to need to get together all of your records. We'll probably wind up needing 12 months of bank statements and checks or something of how you pay yourself or any other employees. That's what we're waiting on right now, and that's going to get a little technical. If you, please let me know if you enjoyed this presentation. Please let me know, type yes in the chat. I hope you found this helpful. I tried to answer as many questions as possible. It looks like a lot of them are the same and I got through and answered them. I'll take a few more questions here. Let's drop a few more in. I'll also go through these after. There's over 300 questions on this call. I'm gonna keep going through them just now, so don't leave just yet. Remember, you can go to national.biz/PPP to get the process started. We're taking applications, we're putting them in the queue. As soon as the SBA and our lenders open up, you'll be in queue and we're gonna work those applications in order they're received. There's no fees to work with us and no one can charge you fees, so just keep that in mind. Please be wary in times like this. Unfortunately, there's good and bad people out there and the bad people will come out of the woodworks and look to do scams. So please be careful. If it doesn't seem right or too good to be true, use your best judgment. If you enjoyed this presentation, please drop a yes in the chat. I'm going to go through all these questions that are in here. We'll wind up being here forever. I'm going to go through them. I'm going to pluck out all the main questions that come up. I'm going to put that together. Give me some time, and I'll answer those questions with an email back out to you. Again, we're here to support small businesses all across the country. And we truly, as I mentioned, our hearts are with you, in this tough time. Me and my team, we have 90 employees. We have an amazing culture at National Business Capital and Services. The team's really, myself, my teams, we all respect business owners across the country, and we're really here to support you guys. They've been working around the clock. Bear with us. We are going to be overwhelmed with applications. Everyone will be, but we're going to leverage what we do best, streamlining, moving fast, and looking to move those applications through the process as quickly as possible. Again, I hope you found this helpful. I hope I answered your questions. If I didn't get to your questions, I'm going to go through here and take out the top questions, and any questions that I didn't answer, I'll send out an email out to you guys. Also, my team, we've been doing meetings with them basically every single day, multiple times a day. So we're giving them the up-to-date information as it comes out. So you'll be speaking with people, my business finance advisors that are on my team that really, we're helping them understand this. They also, this is what we do every day, is help business owners obtain financing. So we understand lender guidelines very well. So we'll be updating our teams so they can update and support you and answer all your questions. I just ask you to please be patient and bear with us throughout this, throughout this process. If you have any questions, you can continue to drop them in the Q&A. I'll answer a few more here, and then we'll wrap up this, this webinar. Yes, I'll answer that question about bankruptcy. No worries. Someone asked if they're a rep paid via 1099. That is how you're getting paid via 1099 and what you can apply. You're applying for what you pay out, not what you take in. So it's a matter of what you take out. If you're not paying other people any type of salaries out of your business, whether it's a sole prop or corp or whatever, the calculation for your loan amount is really based on what you're paying out to payroll. And so it's not really about what you're receiving, it's about what you're paying out. So I just want to be clear with that. There's a question about the application process. Does it save it? It'll save some of the information, but it's a simple, the application, we've simplified it. It'll only take you about 10 minutes to complete, probably less. So there won't be a reason for you to go back out. You can submit and fill out that application, and then you can upload or send us your payroll statements later on. That's okay. So if you want to do that and get it started, that's fine. But you should be able to fill it out in one sitting. If you are not paying yourself, more than, right now there's not technically a loan minimum. I've heard that it's going to be $25,000, but that hasn't come out yet. We're waiting for that information. So if you're not paying yourself at least $10,000, it might be a little bit of a difficult process. As of right now, we can process those applications. I'm just not sure what's going to happen. So please bear with us there. Again, we're getting this information by the hour, and we're connected all to the right sources, and we're releasing that information out to you. When you go to national.biz/PPP, just click on Apply Now and start the process. There's a form right in the top screen. Start filling your information in there and click Apply Now or Start, and you can get the whole process started. If you have any issues, please give us a call at 888-488-GROW. All right, I'm going to go through the remainder of these questions and get those questions to you in an email. There's a number of questions here. It looks like a lot of them are repeated, and I answered a lot of them. One more question here. Does the 2-year term repayment of PPP commence after the 6-month term? It's a 2-year term in total. So after the 6-month term, it looks like it'll be amortized over 18 months. So it's a 2-year term in total. The underwriters will be doing, there's a question about credit and DTI. It's not based on cash flow. You're not, they're not asking for your financial statements, and it's not based on credit. The lenders will be doing background checks. So if you've had any criminal or felony issues in the last 7 years, you will get declined, but it is not based on credit and is not based on cash flow and your financials. It's purely based on the money that you've been spending in your payroll to get to the loan amount that you'll be approved for. Someone asked, what's the difference between the 1% rate in 2 years and the 4% 10 years? There is no more 4% 10 years. They changed that. Right now, it's a 2-year 1%. That could change. I don't know. I don't think it's going to change too much from here, but it could. But the 10-year 4%, that's eliminated at this point. It's a 2-year 1% interest rate. Great question. Again, there's another question. It is not based on your personal credit. I hope I'm clear. So it's gross amount, and it looks like per the language online that you can add in those payroll taxes as well too to get into your calculations. Getting approved should only take a few business days once they start opening up and processing applications and once your applications gets through underwriting. So getting to underwriting is not clear right now, but get your application in, get in queue, and we're going to move as quickly as possible. By doing nothing, it's not going to help you. Our gig economy sole props count? Yes. Is there a minimum amount of time in business that needs to be established? You need to be in business prior to February 15th of 2020. But if you haven't really been in business for that long, then that means you're probably haven't paying a big payroll number. And that payroll number is for 2019. So as long as you're in business prior to 2/15/2020, whatever payroll you spent in 2019, you can use in the calculation. Great question. If you have a partner and you own 49% and 51%, both people will need to be on the application, but it's not personally guaranteed and there is no collateral. So great question. All corporations and nonprofits and sole props qualify. That question's come up a lot. Sorry, just reading through questions here. I'm trying to get to many of these as I can for you guys. There's a $10,000 grant available. It's online. Just Google it. It should come right up. We'll send out that link later. If you applied through the SBA website, it's most likely for the disaster relief or the EIDL loan. So you probably have not applied for this if you applied on the SBA website. So yes, you can apply separately for the PPP loan through us. And you'll do that at national.biz, BIZ/PPP. And it's right here on the screen. It's a good question that your business changed names in 2019. If your business changed names, you can probably just file with both corps and both sets of statements. And you should be able to combine those. But that's a good question. I'm going to confirm that for you. Yes, the economic injury disaster loan is a different loan. You can technically apply for both. I've heard that that loan is the process is very slow there, so you might not get an answer for a few months. But you can apply for both, but the monies that you're using have to be are for different purposes. So if you applied on the website already for the economic disaster loan, you can still apply through us for the PPP loan. There's some questions around workers' comp premiums. That's a great question. I'm going to find that out. It's come up a few times. We work with a lot of contractors. I'll get that information. But what does it mean by payroll costs? That's your payroll taxes. So your cost to run payroll, you can incorporate it in that number. It looks like that's what that language means. If you pay 100% of health, vision, and dental and life benefits, you can use that number in your figures. You just have to provide supporting documentation for it if you don't run it through your payroll. It's a great question. You're from the talk. It seems like the most important thing is fill out the form and get started. Yes, that's a great point. Get started, get in line. Everyone's going to be overwhelmed with these applications. You want to get yourself in the line because everyone's going to be worked in the order that they're received. Yes, anyone 20% more ownership will need your driver's license. You need to list them on the application. There's a question about 2.5 times payroll. You do not use your rent or utilities in the calculation. You only use your payroll into the 2.5 time calculation. You don't use your rent, mortgage, or utilities. Again, there's a million questions about the 1099. Once that's clear and updated, I'm going to send an email out to everybody that signed up for this webinar and all of our customers. So you can get that accurate information. Bear with me. I'm hoping to have that information by the end of the day here. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap this up here. It looks like I got through a lot of the main questions. There's been certain questions that have come up multiple times. I'm going to get that information out to you. I truly hope that you found this information helpful. We'll probably be doing another one. Please follow me at Grow by Joe. You can follow me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're putting out all the up-to-date information out on social media, and we'll be emailing out as well. But please follow us, and also follow us at Grow with National to follow us and get all this up-to-date information. We're putting out videos as soon as we get information to keep everybody informed. Again, much respect that goes out to you, your business, and I hope you and your families and your employees are all safe through this challenging time. We're all in this together. We will be back to business. I don't believe that the world's going to end here, and I believe we'll get right back to it. So stay focused, stay positive, and only focus on what's in your control right now. Everything else is out of our control. So what we're focusing on in our business is what's in our control and what we can do right now. And that's helping you guys obtain the funding through the Paycheck protection plan. We're here to help and serve. Please bear with us. Please have respect for our team. We're doing everything we can. We're updating everyone with the right information. Stay tuned. We'll be sending out that information. But go to national.biz/PPP and get the process started now. Get yourself in queue. If you have any questions, we'll be answering them. I just got a note that our phones are ringing right now, and questions are coming in. So don't worry, we'll get back to you. When you fill out that application, you'll get a receipt that it was completed. And if you don't hear from us, don't worry, we're going to get to you. It may take 24 hours or so to get back to you. So bear with us. We will get back to you. We're here to help everybody. And we're all working remotely right now. So please bear with us. Again, thank you for tuning into this webinar. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much.